So I originally thought that I was going to be done making Starfield videos on the channel. I did my fair share of covering the game and I put my final thoughts out there a while back, but recent events have motivated me to talk about it one more time. One half of this video will be giving my thoughts on the current Bethesda situation, in which the company is responding to reviews on Steam. The amount of delusion and passive aggressiveness in these responses has kept me laughing. The second thing I want to do is just go over some of the comments I received on a TikTok clip from my last Starfield video. The Bethesda fanboys were in full force once that clip hit the algorithm. I'm tired of hearing Bethesda developers and their fanboys cry about how this game isn't that bad and that I'm just a hater. Starfield provides a decent experience, but it does not hit expectations other than Space Skyrim or Space Fallout. I expected more from this game due to the hype that Todd Howard and company built up. I was ready to move on, but now I feel like Michael Corleone.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
So the hype for Starfield died down relatively quickly. Some of it's due to other games and news coming out, to be fair, but that original hype and excitement went away pretty quickly after the first couple of weeks. I'd say by October, the talk for this game dropped immensely. Honestly, after the initial reviews on the game, the content that stuck around on social media seemed to really focus on just the ship customization and just all these different designs people were coming up with for their ships. There was not a lot of talk about the gameplay experience or cool discoveries and things people found hours into the game. So once we hit November, the game slid back into the spotlight for two reasons. One reason is due to them finally releasing an update to fix bugs and glitches, DLSS support, and the ability to eat food instantly. And then the other half of this is due to the whole review response campaign that the company decided to go on recently. The main topics in the negative reviews that they responded to were basically about the game's lackluster exploration, a lack of depth, and players ultimately feeling like the game becomes a dull and tedious experience, especially as the hours go on. Again, the initial excitement for this game was great, but since then it's been nothing but mixed ratings, and right now the game stands as Bethesda's lowest rated game on Steam. Alright, so here's one of the reviews. This one's directly from Steam itself. This person complained about the story, exploring, and the repetitiveness in the game. Now, I'm surprised Bethesda responded to this one. It's only a few sentences long, and the person's thoughts, in my opinion, are pretty fair and reasonable. This Bethesda dev decided to respond with a whole paragraph while stating the obvious. Yeah, we know you could fly and shoot and loot in the game. Yes, the game will take a couple hundred hours to complete if you are trying to get every single thing done, and there's a ton of characters to meet and talk to. Yeah, we get that. But that doesn't mean the actual content is fun to play. The fun is especially dampened when you are constantly in loading screens rather than truly exploring and flying around planets and solar systems with that ship you could spend 20 hours customizing, and I rolled my eyes when I saw the middle of the paragraph. The whole try making different characters with different backgrounds is a joke, really, because essentially the game always stays the same. There's no unique quests or stories to do depending on what you pick up. It's basically the benefits of the perks and other elements of character customization is minuscule, and depending on the background, you might get some other dialogue choices, but that's really about it. Now let's pull up another response. Now this one is laughable, but also frustrating at the same time. This Bethesda defense was written to respond to another reviewer who claimed that the game was boring due to all the empty planets. It's truly amazing how Todd Howard and these developers continue to stand firm on their belief that it was a good idea to make 1,000 planets and feel good about a majority of them being empty. The rationale they used here is so stupid. There was nothing on the moon when the astronauts went there. Okay, really? We are going to equate a gaming experience to that of an actual astronaut? Astronauts aren't there to have fun. I'm assuming it's an intense experience to be up there trying to survive and worry about your suit and your ship and other space tech things. Starfield is not an astronaut simulator. It's not a walking simulator, but yet it is because the only thing you could do on most of these random/empty planets is survey them and find the occasional mine or research lab to loot and explore and maybe fight some bandits. It's super tedious to explore these planets and walk around because there's no Land Rover or anything to help you get around quicker, and half the time your boost pack is lame because it really doesn't move you anywhere quicker. You can't even fly your ship right above the planet's surface, so I really don't understand the point of empty planets. It's just a waste of time. Here's one more Bethesda response. Yeah, that's great that Bethesda will continue to polish this game and the game will eventually take off to a whole other level once the mods roll in. But here's the thing, I'm sick and tired of having to wait months after a game launches to get updates and upgrades. Why release the game when it won't be in its best state until another 6 to 12 months later? A lot of games are doing this today thanks to live service, and it's just pissing me off. The bulk of the time you spend in Starfield will be completing the main questline and other faction quest lines, and then you could spend a lot of hours customizing your ship and building outposts if you're truly into that. But why does shipbuilding matter when you could hardly fly the ship yourself? You can't even customize the inside of the ship to your specific detail. Now, depending on what parts you put on the ship, I know it changes the inside. However, it'd be nice if you can change the way things look, shelves and whatnot, change the color of the walls. You can't even do that, and really, that's what you're doing is spending time in your ship. And even looking at space combat, it does not occur that often outside of some quests. So, and sure, you can do a little bit of role playing in terms of being a pirate or being a pilot that's transporting cargo for money, but those are all small time experiences that are just repetitive. Why would you want to do the cargo delivery missions when you will just navigate through the menu and sit and wait in loading screens anyways? Like, it's not a fun experience to do that because you're not really experiencing anything. That's why people say this game is boring, repetitive, and tedious. Now I want to move on to the fanboys. I first want to show the TikTok that I will be referring to give a little bit of context in the why I'm getting some of these responses. So let's take a look at this and then dive into the quotes. The most disappointing thing about this game is that it is not a next-gen game. Starfield does nothing to take gaming to the next level. It's not even a modern day game. The game looks and runs like a game from 10 years ago. From the constant frame rate drops, the horrific textures, not having any maps, and constant fast traveling, it just looks out of date. If a game that offers hundreds of hours of content wants to keep players around for that long, then something's got to give. If the gameplay is average, then the story better be amazing. If the story is lackluster, then the gameplay better be fun and exciting. But when it comes to Starfield, the whole game is subpar. Alright, so I will be throwing up a variety of comments as I give my thoughts on the fanboys. The comments will range from me being a hater and having too high of expectations for this game, being yelled at that I need to excuse the lack of next-gen ability, and that it's on Game Pass, so it gets a pass apparently for that too. And look, I know TikTok clips can be tricky because I'm just taking a sliver from my video and, trying to put some of my thoughts out there, trying to find a 30 to 60 second portion of the video that really gives my overall take on whatever it is I'm talking about. So, I mean, you do have to watch the full video to truly understand things, but some of these people are just delusional and filled with copium and also just being complete jerks. And in my opinion, in this 30-second clip, I just gave some basic reasonable opinions of my thoughts on the game, and for whatever reason some people thought this was hateful. And if you think that TikTok clip was with me being full of hate, well, I don't know what to tell you. I think you are just salty that I don't like a game that you like. I don't think that I am being a hater because my expectations were not reached. Why can't I expect a AAA game to look and run like a game in 2023? Why can't I be upset because the game keeps crashing every time I sit down and play it? I can't be allowed to get tired of constant loading screens? That isn't hating. That is frustration that built up during my playtime that was close to 100 hours. And speaking of playtime, I played this game for 92 hours. And according to some, playing 92 hours or even hundreds of hours means you can't have a negative thought about the game. I'd argue that my opinions are even more validated due to the amount of time I put into the game. I don't think a person's opinion is that great if they only watch 2 episodes from a show that had, let's say, in their season had a total of 10. I don't think you have a legit opinion of a movie if you only watch 20 minutes of it and it ran at a total time of 3 hours. Like, you're missing out on so much. Not saying you are wrong if a show, movie, or game couldn't keep you locked in for the long haul. I get that, but how can you say my review is invalid because I played 92 hours? And again, going back to the hate thing, people seem to be shocked by reviews on games and other things on social media. Like, clearly people don't know how social media, or really how the internet works as a whole, if you don't like seeing my channel or seeing my opinions and seeing my content. Like, this is what YouTube is, this is what TikTok is, this is what Twitter and Facebook, it's all about opinions and expressing yourself, and sometimes people do content and entertainment and stuff like I'm doing here with this channel and TikTok account. I also encountered a lot of "it's on Game Pass, who cares?" This is a piss poor rebuttal. Bethesda is not some small indie developer making their first game. This company has been around for literal decades now, and not everyone has Game Pass. Many do, but technically not everybody, and this game is listed at $70. Never use Game Pass as an excuse for a mid-game coming from a multi-million-dollar company who has hundreds of people working on that game. Alright, on to my final thoughts now. Yes, I did have the hopes and expectations of the game giving me vibes of Skyrim and Fallout in space, like many other Bethesda fans. However, that doesn't mean it needs to be the exact same game from 10 plus years ago. It should provide different things and offer new experiences with gameplay and storytelling, and sadly, it just really didn't do that. I feel like the one thing that really stood out in this game was the ship customization, and the proof is out there when you look up all these videos and pictures all over the internet, but there isn't much praise for the storytelling and the world building. And the hype and expectations that came from Todd Howard and the company back when they showed off this game originally, and the way they described things, I thought the game was going to be a banger. I thought it was going to be much different than this. It's not a fun space action adventure game. Rather, it's an astronaut simulator, which apparently is what they intended to make all along. Well, anyways, thanks for checking out the video. Let me know your thoughts down below, and feel free to check out the channel if you are new here and consider subscribing. You can also find my content on podcasting platforms. Just Google Analyze This Podcast. You can also find me on X and TikTok, X at AnalyzeThis_YT, and TikTok at AnalyzeThis54_YT. Thanks for watching, and take care.